The push to reform police. We're joined now by civil rights attorney Lee Merritt, who represents several families, including Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you just joined 8 families today who lost loved ones to police violence to meet privately with President Trump and other officials. You and the White House officials have described the meeting as emotional. What specifically did the president say, and do you believe that the families felt heard?
Well, the families were able to speak to the White House, speak to the Attorney General about their unique and tragic cases. It was very emotional. There were a lot of tears flowing. The families felt heard. The president offered independent federal investigations to those who still had open cases, but that fell well short of what they were really seeking, which was policy changes to ensure that this doesn't happen to any other family.
So it sounds like the president was sympathetic to your clients, but did he agree with you that racism and police brutality are widespread problems in this country?
I don't think that we see eye to eye about the systemic issue of racism in America. He did acknowledge in his executive order that the African-American community has been the victims of targeting by law enforcement, that it was law enforcement's actions specifically, is his words. It was law enforcement's actions that betrayed the trust of the African-American community, and that acknowledgement is a start.
So would you say that overall this meeting with the president was a positive experience for these families, and do you think that it brought them any closer to justice?
I think it brought these families closer to justice. Most of these families, I should say, they still had open cases because they at least received the promise of a federal investigation. That he still has to hold true to that promise, but it was dissatisfactory to the sense that the executive order and the powers that he could have used to create immediate change to stop growing this club so big, we didn't see any real movement there.
And what would you say to critics who think that it was a mistake to meet with the president because they don't consider him to be an ally in this fight?
The White House, the office of the presidency, the highest executive in the land, has the authority, including over the Attorney General, who is also present, to do justice. It is their imperative. And if we don't show up and if we don't demand it, then how do we expect them to act?
But the president's executive order does fall short of what you've asked for. Do you think that it was at least a step in the right direction or better than nothing?
Yeah, it was incremental change. We were hoping for a flood of change, but those increments gets us a little closer.
And what do you think of President Trump's characterization that today's measures are quote, historic?
I think that's a poor characterization. They're not remotely historic. They barely make a way.
Incremental, I guess, as you just said. But you were in a hearing on police use of force all day today. Congressional Democrats and Republicans are working on separate police reform bills, but it doesn't look like there's any bipartisan legislation that's currently in the works. Are you concerned that no law will get passed at all, and are there compromises that you think that the Democrats should consider?
I think it's a major concern that we need action right now, similar to the immediate response from Congress that we had to deal with coronavirus. We need to deal with the pandemic of violence in America. There must be bipartisan legislation. I just spoke before the Senate, and I believe that there is at least an opportunity for us all to come together to meet this crisis.
And lastly, your clients were not at Trump's Rose Garden announcement today. The White House said that was a mutual decision, and instead the president was joined by members of law enforcement. So, Lee, tell us what that was all about.
Well, I think it reflects the president's priorities. His key advisors and his EO is law enforcement. His chief concern, his base is law enforcement. These families, as it is clear from his actions or lack thereof, don't make up a high priority for that office.
And what would you say your message is to lawmakers at this very moment?
That we need comprehensive reform in order to overcome this tide of racial violence. America is the deadliest, most incarceration-prone nation on the planet. It is a genocide that we have a responsibility to address immediately.
Attorney Lee Merritt, we thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.